This episode is sponsored by Takedown Sportswear. If you want to design your gear your way for you or your team, then you need to try their new 360-degree custom singlet builder. With a ton of options to choose from and no order minimums, what are you waiting for? Visit takedownshop.com/customize. Welcome to the Wrestling Core Podcast, a place to hear all the things you need to know to be successful in wrestling.
I'm the host and show producer, Trey Horton.
And I'm the co-host, Nick Nastasio. Today, we're going to dive into journals. This is the Wrestling Core Podcast. Somebody looks pretty excited about today.
Oh, you have no idea.
Well, I know what we're going to be talking about. Why don't you tell our listeners what we're going to be talking about today?
Just my favorite topic, man.
What is it?
Journals.
What do you mean about journals? Wrestlers are supposed to be big, burly, mean, growling. We're not supposed to be writing in journals.
If you want to be one of the best, you will.
How would a journal be important for a wrestler?
A wise man once told me, be a scholar athlete and not a dumb jock. And one of the ways that you do that, the small step, is starting a wrestling journal. Not a journal. We're talking about a wrestling journal.
So one that can keep you accountable.
Essentially. I mean, realistically, if I were to ask you, who held you accountable at the end of every single day?
Every day?
Every single day.
I would think it's me.
Every single day?
Well, not every day, that's for sure.
I can tell you it wasn't every day for me either. And that's one of the things that a journal can help take care of. And, if you think about it, how do you remember everything that you've ever learned?
You can't recall it, off the back of your head. But you can definitely keep your goals. I kept mine on a sheet of paper, but it was nothing like an actual wrestling journal. So what would a good wrestling journal have?
Well, let me ask you this in response, Coach. What was the thing that we talked about in the last episode?
We talked about setting up our long, medium, and short-term goals, right?
Our short, medium, and long-term goals are crucial to having a great journal, because your goals are going to start every week. If you don't see your goals regularly, then out of sight, out of mind. And a wrestling journal is a great place to do that, because at the end of every day, when you write in it, you're writing, what are you going to do to get to that goal? Did you accomplish it? What do you think you need to do differently? That kind of stuff. And truthfully, we brushed on it earlier when we talked about holding yourself accountable. And if you make time at the end and start of every day to look in your journal and write in your journal, whichever part of the day it is, and generally it's best to do it at the end of the day so you can look back on what you did, then you're naturally holding yourself accountable.
Right. And holding that self-accountability is so important. Understanding that the process is taking it day to day and writing down your goals. Understanding that every day is going to be different and there's going to be different adversities and challenges that you're going to be facing, right?
Right. So if you could sum that up into two questions, what would you ask yourself?
First one would be, how did your day go? How did my day go? Did it go well? Was it bad? Was it progressive? What challenges did you face? Maybe it was, there was a certain move coach was showing that you were struggling with. That's going to take some time, and that might take some time after practice or before practice, the next one. Or you had a good practice. Maybe you hit a move very well, and you're ready to try it out in a tournament.
So I'm gonna jump in here and ask. That's specifically about how did your day go for wrestling? How did you do at wrestling practices? It's not how was your math class.
We're not going to talk about math with me.
It's a wrestling journal, right?
Yes.
All right, what's the second question?
What challenges did you face?
That is a very, very good question. Can you give an example?
Maybe you got stuck in a move wrestling live with your partner.
So would you just write down the name of the move you got stuck in, or?
Maybe you can say, I got stuck in a single leg, and I wasn't able to finish a shot.
I would actually challenge you to take it a step further and talk about, this is how I was challenged and this is what I'm going to do to fix it.
Okay, so maybe you could C-step or elevate the leg up for a single leg trip, right?
Right.
All right, so the next part here is going to be tracking your growth. And is that just maybe saying, is this going to be a long-term, short-term? How would you handle this wrestling journal?
So if you're writing it every single day, after a season, you can come back and review how things went. And on a macro level, you can actually see how well you grew over the course of the season. On a day-to-day level, if you're writing down your record at the top of every entry, and say you go to a duel, you're tracking technically how you performed every single day for the season, every single day. And if you're writing down your next goal, like what you've got to accomplish next, you're still tracking it too. So, whenever the day comes that you met one of your small goals, because that's your next goal, then you're looking at, you got to go back to your goals list and decide, hey, this is what I've got to get next. And you can check off the box of the goal you've already done and move on to the next one.
Okay, awesome. So that sounds like a lot to write up. It might seem hard for some people, that have maybe never have even thought about writing in a wrestling journal before.
Right. And that's where a wrestling journal, one that's designed and purpose-built for wrestling, sets itself out from just a journal that you keep in a composition notebook. Because anyone can go buy a composition notebook for 49 cents at Walmart and write in it and, think they're doing good. But the thing is you've got to be able to check every box off every single day. And if you don't remember, or you have a day you're rushed and you don't get to everything, then you're kind of hurting yourself because you're not keeping yourself fully accountable in that process. One of my favorite things about a journal isn't even the day-to-day stuff. It's actually writing down the stuff that you learn. So if coach comes into practice and teaches a single leg takedown, you're able to sit down and write what you learned and what was different or what was new about it. Because after your first year of wrestling, a double leg is a double leg. You're going to learn a double leg. But what's different about the setup to get that double leg? What changed? Walk yourself through step by step with words so that you can reteach yourself if you ever need to go back and look at it. And that goes for camps too. Like if you go to a wrestling camp, you spend couple $1,000 on a camp, depending on how long you're there. And you could come home and only remember 2 or 3 things, right?
Yep.
And how many times do you go to a wrestling camp with your team and only come back remembering 2 or 3 things?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
I've ran a camp, and I can tell you that you're being taught more than 2 or 3 things. And if you can write down all that stuff, that's something you can take back to your coach and say, Coach, look at what I learned. And if you're doing it every single day, you're not giving your coach just a list. You're giving him a paragraph of how you described the move with words so that not only could you, but he could understand what you learned as well.
Okay. Oh, shoot. So it's like a really great journal to sort of self-reflect on the things that you've taken from these camps. And I know me and you both have been to a ton of camps. I know you're very familiar with Ken Chertow, right?
Right. And he was one of my coaching mentors growing up. I looked up to him a good deal, and I hope one day we'll be able to get him on this podcast. But as of right now, I can tell you, I've learned so much at his camps alone, let alone all of the other camps that I've gone to. And I know you have at your camps as well. And the truth is, saying that we've been to a lot of camps or seen a lot of different coaches or interact with a lot of different people is a complete understatement.
So, with the amount of experience that we have and the amount of camps that we've been to, we've experienced, has been part of, has been a participant of these camps, and going towards our journals, how would one start that wrestling journal?
Well, the biggest thing I would do is either look for a pre-made journal or look for resources online that would steer you in a direction to make your own journal. Because there's nothing saying you can't go out and buy a 49-cent composition notebook and pre-fill it out and just spend a day writing on every single page so you have the prompts to answer for the entire season. On our website, we actually have posted not only a copy of our journal for you to download and use for free, but a copy of our goal setting worksheet as well that kind of gets you started. So from a standpoint of getting started with your journal, that would be a great place to start. We are going to have a fully printed version of our journal available on Amazon, but you can download the print and write version of it completely for free and punch holes in it, put it in a 3-ring binder, and it'll cost you the cost of paper and a cost of the binder. Reuse it year after year. I prefer the printed version, or something that's physically hard so that you can't lose it and you can always come back to it and look, because you never know when you're going to need to go back and look at your old stuff.
So where is the website posted?
So if you go to wrestlingcore.com or choosetopnetwork.com, the resources are posted there. As we continue and we do more episodes, if we have more worksheets or anything like that, we're going to post all that stuff up there for free. We're not here to make a monopoly or make a whole bunch of money. We're here to give kids access to stuff that we didn't get access to when we were most of our listeners' age. So coaches, if you want to use them for your team, please do. Use them for all your kids. We have the URL for our podcast for goals listed at the very top of the goals worksheet. So you can go print it, give it out to all of your kids, and all you have to do is, I need you to work on your goals. Go do this. Come back, turn it into practice tomorrow. You've seen that in action, haven't you?
Yes, I have seen that in action, and the kids love it. It might seem like homework.
It definitely is homework.
But at least it's homework that they if they genuinely care about and are passionate about the sport, it's not homework. This is just their passion showing on paper.
And the nice thing about the goals worksheet and the journal is there's plenty of space to write in and add more stuff as you go. And, it's something that every kid could use and everyone would benefit from. Wouldn't you say?
Yes. Yes, it's a great resource for all athletes.
So I kind of want to touch on something that was in our episode last week, but we didn't really talk about, especially since we have a little bit of extra time. Going forward, and even in this episode, we're going to have a segment called Challenge Time. It's going to sound like this.
Challenge Time.
This challenge time is for you, the listener, to take the opportunity to do something with what you just heard and learned about today. So when you hear the sound,
Challenge Time.
Grab that pen and paper and write it down, because that is your goal that you get to set, your short-term goal from the 20 minutes that you just spent listening to us talk. We are the guys that have been there, but truthfully, we're here to help you. We've had our time in the light, and now if there's someone that can take what we're giving and grow from it, that's all we're looking for. So with that being said, Coach Nick, you ready?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Here we go.
Challenge Time.
We want to challenge you to make the most of your season, the most of every practice, and to start your journal today. Whether you started on a composition notebook, print out the Wrestling Core journal, or you buy a printed version, start something today. Find your challenge and write it down and do it. Challenge your friends. Challenge your teammates. You cannot win a championship by yourself. You have to have a strong foundation. Your friends, your teammates are that foundation. Build with them. Don't do it alone. Start now.
Laying down some hard truths there, right, Coach?
Yes, sir.
So what are we talking about next week?
We're talking about our devious doubles.
Devious doubles?
Yes, our alter ego.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
Yes, it is. And for our listeners that are listening to our podcast right now, make sure to tune in.
You can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you found this episode. Please subscribe, share, and tell your friends.
And thank you again for listening.
This is the Wrestling Core Podcast.